On this edition of Larry the Golf Guy, we talk with Tommy Armour III, who has had a very lengthy career as a professional on tour, playing in more than 600 events on the PGA Tour and then another 200 plus events on the Champions Tour. So we talk with Tommy about his life on tour, some of the challenges in getting his card, and memories of his two wins on tour, and some of the experiences he had with various folks along the way, which included Ben Hogan and Mac O'Grady. We also get Tommy's thoughts on the Live PGA Tour divide and also the advancement of golf equipment and whether or not he thinks those advances should be rolled back. So all of that and much more coming up next with longtime PGA Tour professional Tommy Armour III on this edition of Larry the Golf Guy. Well, welcome to another edition of Larry the Golf Guy, and I'm so pleased today to have longtime PGA Tour pro, and then on the Champions Tour, Tommy Armour III with us. Tommy, thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Larry.
So just as we'd like to do with our listeners, just to give a little context, you were born in Denver, but I think you grew up in Las Vegas, right? So did you move when you were young?
Exactly. We weren't there for a minute. We were just there for, a really quick time. My dad was at the Air Force Academy. He was a doctor at the Air Force Academy, and they didn't have the hospital yet in Colorado Springs at the Air Force Academy. So we drove into Denver to Fitzsimmons, and that's where I was born. And then shortly after that, we moved to Spain because he was still in the
Oh, wow.
Air Force, and then we were there for a couple of years, and then we moved to Vegas in '63.
Got it. And as I understand, you grew up kind of off the third hole of the Desert Inn Golf Club. So I'm curious, were you
Exactly.
introduced at a pretty young age to the game, and how did that go?
Yeah, I've grown up playing golf my whole life. I mean, just it was just part of our. I was given the name, and so we were a golfing family. My mom was a good golfer too.
Okay.
She was about a 6, 7 handicap, so
Wow,
she was.
that is good.
Yeah, it is.
So of course, you mentioned the name, obviously Tommy Armour, the Silver Scott, very famous. I know you were pretty young when he passed away. Do you have any recollection of any time with him at all?
You know, Only around him twice because he was on the East Coast. We were on the West Coast, and so I don't have a lot of recollection. I don't remember a lot from eight. I don't know about you, but 8 years old is kind of a long ways back there in the rearview mirror.
Yep, no, I hear you. I have the same feeling. So I know you played at for your high school team at Bishop Gorman High School. Did you play as a junior competitively beyond just the high school team in the Vegas area?
Well, and grew up in where every summer my brother and I we spent in Southern California playing junior golf in Southern
Ah,
California during
okay.
the summers. Yeah, so it was a nice break from the Vegas heat, and we'd go down there, and that's where like I met John Cook and Mark O'Meara when I was in my early teens, and been friends with them ever since.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Some great, those are two great names, obviously, from Southern
Right.
California junior go, and they've had tremendous careers, as have you.
Sure.
But so you end up going to University of New Mexico and play. What was that process like? Did you know that's where you wanted to go? Did you look at different schools and kind of how did you end up there?
Well, actually, it started out I was going to go to Purdue,
Okay.
and out of high school, my grades were just not quite good enough to get in Purdue. So I went to Lincoln Trail Junior College in Southern Illinois for a
Okay.
year, and we played good there. We won the state junior college championship and went to the national championship. And then I was playing at the Western Junior at UNM course, the South course at UNM. And I met Dwayne Knight, who was a golf coach at UNM at that time. And he said, we would offer you a scholarship here. And I said, I kind of looked at the facilities and I said, you know what, I can come here and work on my game. We got a golf course. It's ours, and you know, I can do whatever I want. And they actually had two golf courses. They had a north and south, and the north course was a 9-hole, really nice golf course. Used to be 18, but they cut it down for the university to add school buildings and stuff for the school. But
Hmm.
it was a 9-hole course. It was really nice, and I could take my shag bag over there. And I lived at the fraternity about a quarter of a mile away, and I'd walk over there with my shag bag and just hit balls and pick them up, and so it was really nice.
And did you kind of know all along that you wanted to sort of try a pro tour as kind of after
Well,
college?
I told my dad when I was 13 that I was going to play on the PGA Tour and
Okay.
wear a brand new golf glove every day I played.
Yeah, it's one of the perks of being a tour player for sure.
Exactly, exactly. So that's what I
Absolutely.
did. That's what I did for 40 years.
For sure. And we're going to talk about a lot of those achievements. So you turned pro in 81, and I was trying to look through it. It looked like, did you play internationally for a while before regular on the tour, or
Well,
what
what I
was
did, I went to the tour school in 81. I made the tour,
okay.
qualified at Waterwood National.
Okay.
And for 82, which was the last year of Monday qualifyings. And
Right.
so that uh, got me where I could play on the Monday qualifyings all through 82. And I did that. I didn't keep my card. And then I missed my card at TPC Sawgrass by a shot.
Oh
And then,
gosh.
so then I went and I played, you know, in Asia and played a little bit of Asia, and then came back and played the Nike tour, I believe it was back then. I
Right. Back then. Right.
played some of those. Then I went to the tour school again and missed by 2 shots. And so then I went back to Asia, and then that year I went to Europe and played in some tournaments and got exempt, and went back to the tour school again and missed by 2 shots again.
Oh boy.
And so, you know, but then I went back to Asia and Europe, and my cousin lived in London, so he gave me this a flat there in London, so I kind of based out of that for a couple of years, and drove all over Europe playing professional golf.
Wow.
Then I came back to the tour school and made it, and kind of just, you know, went forward from there.
Wow. That's quite a journey.
Yeah, but it was
It's
good education, good, you know, learned a lot.
I'm sure. That Q school has got to be the most challenging thing. It's so much riding on it, and what was like 4, 6 rounds, or it's a lot of rounds, right, of golf back then.
Some were 4, some were 6, but the year I made it, it was 4, and then they moved to 6 after that. And yeah, it was a lot of golf, but you know, the better players usually made it.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned Monday qualifying. I was thinking McCord and pushed and got the I think all exempt tour in '83. So that was right around the time. So when you came back and got your card, the second time, it was the all exempt tour, so you didn't have to do
Yes,
Monday qualifying, right?
right, right.
Yeah, that was a tremendous change that McCord got through with Beeman back in the
Mhm.
day. So,
You know, I don't
uh,
know if it was better or worse, but it was certainly a change, and made a lot more guys be able to plan and commit, and, you know, make their schedule. And because, you know, in 82, if you qualified, Monday qualified, and you made the cut in the tournament, you were in the following week. So, I mean, there
right.
was guys playing, you know, making the cut 7 cuts in a row, playing 7 weeks in a row. Now the guys on tour, they play 2 weeks and they need a week off. So, not, but it's all relative too, you know. I mean,
Right.
I mean the wages have certainly increased, and but it's you know, it was all both are good.
Yeah, I just remember, reading Frank Beard's book about his year on the tour in '69, and which with Dick Schaap, which was a great book I read when I was many years ago. And I mean, he was so focused on making the top 60, and it was hard going Monday to Monday, as you say. But
Well, it's kind of
yeah.
gone full circle back
I
to
was
that
just
now.
going to say that, right? Because the signature events, that's actually where I was going to go with this, is because it does seem like it's gone a little full circle.
It's definitely gone full circle.
which is interesting. Um, so, I mean, we'll talk about a couple of things on tour, but I'm just sort of generally curious. You were out there a long time, played at, I think, north of 600 events on the
Yep.
PGA Tour. Anything that kind of surprised you going out there full time that you didn't expect at all?
Um, I kind of surprised myself how durable I was and how um kind of inner tough that, because I played like 620 tournaments or whatever what the number was. I can't remember
Hmm.
what, but I only won twice. There's a lot of trunk slamming going on in that. And a lot of packing it up. I'll get them next week. And so,
Right.
kind of emotionally durable and
Yeah,
physically durable. And because I also played, 250-ish on the Champions
I
Tour,
saw that. Right.
and I played, I want to say 60 or 50 tournaments in Europe, and you know 40 in Asia. So I'm north of 1,000 professional golf tournaments.
It's
So
amazing.
and I'm still in pretty good physical shape after all that. And so it kind of, that was probably one of the things that surprised me most about me. But surprised me most of that is the players on the PGA Tour, people really don't realize how good they are at golf. I
Yeah.
mean, because a lot of people say, they look out there and they see these guys, and mostly what you see on TV is really good shots. But there's a lot of bad shots, but their ability to recover from bad shots and to kind of move on through a round, and that's what you really notice once you spend a lot of time there, is the ability to uh, compete and for a lot of people maintain a high level of uh, resilience. It would be,
Right.
yeah, because it's an emotional, uh, you know, I worked with a guy named Gio Valiente, Dr. Gio
Oh, yeah.
Valiente,
I've read his stuff. Sure.
and he said, getting comfortable being uncomfortable is the biggest key out there. And
That's a great phrase. Yeah.
it is for sure one of the um, truths of professional golf.
Yeah, that's a great phrase. I like that.
Mhm.
So, as you said, you were out there a long time. Just, you had your two wins. What was it like the first one? I mean, it ended up being kind of a runaway, right? In the 1990 Phoenix Open, I think you won by what, five over Jim Thorpe, if I'm remembering right. So,
I did. I won by 5, and it was just I just, the greens weren't great that year. They were a little bumpy. Everybody was talking about, and the course was in good shape. Other than that, and I just you know putts kept bumping in the hole. And last day I started out, I birdied the second and third hole and like the fifth hole or something like that, and I had like a 6-shot lead with about 10 holes to go, and I got a little comfortable, and I was like, I go, you better, pay attention here because you still got a lot of golf and a lot of hazards and
sure.
a lot of golf to finish. And but I kind of once I once I got to about the 16th tee with a 5-shot lead, I felt pretty good about it. I said I can get this into the house. I mean, off 18 now. I remember his driver and stuff. I hit a 1 iron. Actually, had a 1 iron in my bag. I actually had a wood driver in my bag as well.
Oh,
But
wow.
but I hit a 1 iron off the tee, and I hit a 1 iron 7 iron, and hit it in the middle, kind of the left side of the green, two putted, and that was it. But it
Wow.
was
That
it
must have
was
been
a
a
it was a
great
great
feeling.
it was a
Yeah,
great feeling. It was a
had to
great
be.
moment, and it was a great sense of accomplishment.
Absolutely. And then I know, speaking of accomplishments, your second win 13 years later at the Texas Open, it's incredible. What 72 hole record, scoring record, which you had for a long time. What was that week like? I mean, you must have just putts must have been dropping that week. That's such a low score.
It was more than my ball striking. I think I hit
Okay.
it inside of 3 to 4 feet. I think I hit it about 20 times.
Wow.
I only made five fives for the 72 holes.
Wow.
And it was I mean, I hit a lot of good shots, and I actually bogeyed the last hole of that tournament doing that.
Did you really? You shot 254 with a bogey in the last hole.
On
Wow.
the last, I kind of hooked my driver just a little bit, and it rolled in this bunker, and one of my feet were out of the bunker, the balls, and I kind of fatted it up short of the green, knocked it up there about 10 feet and missed it. And I was like, and I didn't even really know about the record because I really didn't read a lot of the press or anything that week. And I knew I was hitting it great, which I did all week. I drove it great, and I only had one three putt the week, and that was I want to say like the 10th hole on Sunday maybe, and I just all parts of my game were Mr. Green. It was auto up and down, but I hit a lot of shots really close to the hole where it wasn't even, and I made a lot of putts. I mean, obviously, you can't
Right.
shoot 254 without making putts.
No, but hitting it close to the hole sounds like Johnny Miller in his prime in the desert when he used to hit all those irons so close.
That's kind of what it was like. I mean, I hit a lot of shots close to the hole.
That's awesome. And I know I chuckled a little bit when I saw the story about your text with Justin Thomas. So your record held for a while, for 14 years
Yeah,
until JT nipped it by one at the 2017 Sony Open in
yeah,
Hawaii. And
yeah,
I know you had a fun text exchange with him about
yeah. He
that.
just, and then I text him that, and then a few minutes later I said, "Just kidding,
Yeah.
congratulations." But
No,
it was
yeah.
one of the courses that people would say, "Do you think it'll be broken?" I go, "Well, if it is broken, it could be broken at Waialae,
Yeah.
and I like Hartford. I think I picked out as
Yeah.
possible courses that somebody could shoot those kind of numbers at, and I was right.
Yeah, you
To
were.
get a calm week for in Waialae, and that par 70, and voila.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to ask you about a couple of different folks. I know, I think I saw somewhere that you had some interactions with Ben Hogan early in your career, if I'm remembering right. Do you have any recollections of those exchanges at all and what that was like?
Sure. A good friend of mine that I had met in Dallas was named Ben Parks. He's since passed, but he was friendly with Ben Hogan, and he was also friendly with a golf pro in Fort Worth named Raymond Gafford. And Raymond Gafford was a good friend of Ben's. And I started I was using Hogan equipment at the time, and well, actually a little bit before that. And Ben took me over there to have lunch with him, and I had lunch with him, and so I did that, about 10 times in my life,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and you know, one of the greatest lines I asked him one time, I go, "What was your favorite US Open course?" And he kind of paused for a few seconds. He goes, "The ones I won at." And it was like, and one time I went into the factory and I was going back to see Gene Sheely, and I went back there, and then I got a page over the intercom and said, "Mr. Armour, come up to the office." And so I went up there, and when I think Louise was his secretary's name. I can't remember exactly, but I think it was Louise. And she goes, "Mr. Hogan like to see you in his office." And I went, "Okay." So I went in and I go, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Mr. Armour," he goes, "don't ever come into the Ben Hogan factory and not come and say hello to me first." And I go,
Wow.
You're absolutely correct." And one time he told me, he said, "Your grandfather gave me my first club contract, when I turned professional at McGregor and stuff. And there were Ben Hogan McGregor clubs,
Wow. Okay.
and he said, so he goes, I always remembered that. And he goes, "Your grandfather was a great guy." And so I think he, on top of, he was always very nice to me, and that was probably a stimulating factor to it.
For sure. And you mentioned Gene Shealy. I mean, legendary club guy for Hogan. I used
Yeah.
Hogan clubs too. I mean, I always was so sad when that company got sold all those times,
Hmm.
and for the AMF, and then they sold it to Jap Cosmo, and then it kind of,
Yeah.
disintegrated. It was what a
Hmm.
wonderful golf club they made, right?
They're back.
They are back. You're right. They are back.
They're DTM right now, or
Right.
DTC right now. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
But those Apex irons were great.
yeah,
The I Another name I saw that caught my eye was Mac O'Grady. So Mac O'Grady, of course, I mean, I'm famous for I think that righty and lefty swing sequence that Golf Digest had all those years ago. So you guys, did you work with him? It sounds like as a swing coach in the 90s.
yeah. Yeah, for some years, and I still talk to Mac, and Mac's one of the scientist of golf, and
Right.
maybe the foremost. And I've always enjoyed my time with Mac, and I've always learned, and really, he's given me a lot of insight how the golf swing works and why it works, and so I've learned a lot from Mac O'Grady over the years, and I still talk to him.
Yeah, he was an interesting character, and
Yeah,
and I mean, how much the other one I was just curious about. I mean, obviously you came out on tour a long time before him, but you were out there while he was out there, of course, which is Tiger. Did you play much with him, and sort of did you? I'm sort of curious. Did you sort of get the sense from the beginning that this was a different cat from everyone else in terms of his talent and stuff?
the first time I was really around him, we were from to his first British Open as an amateur,
Okay.
and I was seated on the plane next to his dad,
Okay.
and his dad was saying this, my son's going to change the game of golf and stuff, and I'm listening to him, yeah, yeah, and then we played their practice round, and I was like, "You're right." And then Hank Haney's a very good friend of mine, and
Oh, okay.
so when he started working with Tiger, I got to play a lot of practice rounds with him, and so I was around him a lot more. And Marco Mera is one of my dear friends, and he
Right.
obviously mentored Tiger
Right.
to an extent, and so I was kind of got to be around him a lot through those people.
Yeah. Um, yeah, for sure. Mark was definitely a mentor for him for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
The I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of the stuff that's going on in the pro game these days and get your thoughts on it. I know you were, maybe still are. I know you were friendly with Pat Perez, and I'm sure probably a bunch of the other guys who went over to live.
Right.
Kind of, what do you sort of think about that whole thing? And do you sort of see where do you see it going? Do you see them being any kind of reunification? I mean, we're sitting here, it's almost May of 2025. I mean, that framework agreement was, years ago now, which obviously nothing's really happened with it, and I think for us golf fans, it's kind of tough to sort of see these, guys only play all together at the majors, and be great if they could be get back together. But I'm just curious kind of how you see it and where you think it might be headed.
Well, I understand live golf. I get it, and I understand how these guys go for some financial security, and I can't blame them, and nobody should blame them because everybody has their own needs and wants, and to criticize them for all those things, I don't think is just. A lot of people lean into the live tour and say this and that about it, which I'm not, totally on board with. The PGA Tour has its faults, the Live Tour has its faults. I mean, everybody has their faults, but I think it could have been handled a different way from the start. But that's not where we are right now, and I think hopefully they come to some type of agreement, and figure out a way to coexist or to unite. But, I mean, um, uh, people have security needs, and to the security of the Live Tour financial system that they have set up out there is certainly inviting.
For sure, for sure.
I don't know if there's a right answer or a wrong answer for the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody seems to know. It's just a little surprising that, that framework agreement that came down right before the US Open in 2023 made it sound like, oh, okay, here's like a term sheet. They're going to sort of figure this out. And 2 years have gone by, and it doesn't feel like they're any closer. In fact, it almost
It
feels
doesn't
like they're waiting it out.
it doesn't feel like it's any closer. I think a lot of those guys signed, what, 4-year deals on Live, something
Right.
along those
That's
lines.
right.
I
That's right.
think they're maybe waiting that out to see what happens after all that.
I agree with you.
Would be, an assumption of mine.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assumption.
Yeah.
Um, Another topic, Tommy, I wanted to get your thoughts on, and you're kind of uniquely, or well, maybe not uniquely, but well situated on this, which is the whole equipment stuff. I mean, you mentioned having a, wood in your, like a wooden wood back, in the days when you were playing. And it, and you and I are close to the same age, and I certainly remember playing those persimmon woods and balata balls, and it was such a different game in terms of obviously the size of the club head, the not just the distance, but to me, sort of the skill level required to sort of play at a high level with those clubs, and it just feels as a fan of the pro game that it's kind of the cat's been let out of the bag maybe a long time ago as we've got up to 460cc drivers and people can swing as hard as they can because the penalty for an off-center hit is not doesn't seem nearly as severe as it used to be with a persimmon driver and a lot of balls. But I'm just sort of curious kind of how you think about it, and do you, and sort of its impact on the pro game and kind of where we go from here, if anywhere.
Well, over time, there's been a few contributing factors that I think have come to really changing golf. And I think the design of the Ping Golf Club, I'm involved with a golf company now where I'm with, and it's called Sub 70. So I've
Okay.
designed, and we do golf clubs and the woods and irons and everything. So, I've it's always perked my interest. Equipment's always been an
Yeah.
interest of mine, and so not to brag or anything, but I think we have great golf clubs, sub 70, and but so on. But the Ping Golf Club, in 1959, when Carson Solheim started the Ping Golf Company, and they developed the cavity back
Right.
perimeter weighted iron, was a was a the first plateau where a lot a bad golfer could be made better just with the equipment,
Right.
just by off center hits and just hitting the golf ball straighter and farther, which was the first. And then secondly, you had square grooves that came along, which went along with the cavity back club. And so now which kind of eliminated the rocket ball off those perimeter weighted irons.
Right. Right.
So, and when the square groove came about, it the skill of hitting in the fairway was not as mandatory as before with V grooves. And that all went through, and then the ball changed when the ball went from the wound ball to a range ball is what I've called it, was
Right.
the Pro V. The
Yeah.
Pro V is a glorified range ball. It's a
Right.
solid ball.
Solid ball. Right.
And I remember the first time I used it, it was like, wow. It's like I had a Casco driver, which was, verging on illegal. And I put that that Pro V with it, and I played in the LA Open, and I was like leading after 3 rounds, and my mouth got infected. But anyway, that's another story. But the first few times I played with it, it was like, this ball is unbelievable. I mean, you know, and and so I think those three. I mean, they went away from square grooves, but
Right.
the grooves the grooves haven't gone back to the old V
That's
groove.
true. Right.
It's a new V groove, which is kind of a hybrid between the V groove and the square groove. So,
Right.
I
Right.
mean, you can see it just on performance of the ball out of the rough and out of the fairway. So I think those three things, and then the development of metalwoods, I think those all those when you put those all in the capsule, the product that comes out, you have a bigger driver, which the takes the spin away, and spin, high launch, low spin, high launch gives you carry and distance, and the dispersion level has been a lot of dispersion has been taken out of the game of golf.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I think when you put all those things together, we're here, and then you've got bigger, stronger, uh, more talented, and with the development of TrackMan and video cameras, and with video camera and a TrackMan, you can track a swing, and you see what produces um, the performance required to hit a high draw, a low draw, low cut, high cut. You can see all that on a TrackMan. It gives you the numbers of this is what you have to do that. So replicate that, and you can achieve that. So I think all those, when you put all those into the crock pot, you come out with where we are today.
Do you think any of that should get rolled back at all, or do you think it's just sort of progress and we should live with what we have? Or you have any thoughts on that?
I don't know. Do you make a Ferrari go slower?
Yeah, I guess the way I sort of wonder about it is, at the pro game.
Should only the pros play that ball?
I mean, I
Uh,
don't know. I mean, it's just, I mean, personally, I think that I would focus more on the clubs and the ball, but I mean, I understand that's easier to deal with the ball, but it's just interesting to me, Tommy. I mean, we have bifurcation in lots of other sports. I mean, if Aaron Judge had an aluminum bat in his hand, you probably have some fatalities at third base.
but
So.
he never had an aluminum bat, and then they took it away from him.
That's true. Well, I mean, but coming up through, college and stuff, I mean, I don't know that he went to college, but that you do at lower levels, you have aluminum bat, but not at the pro level. You're right. That's right.
Right.
But I don't know. It's interesting. There's certainly we've had a bunch of the PGA executives on. We had Derek Sprague on a couple of weeks ago, and
Hmm.
I know the PGA of America is not a fan of this ball rollback. So.
Bob Anderson, who plays, a weekend warrior, wants to play the golf ball that
Right.
Tiger plays,
That's right.
or Jordan Spieth, I mean, or Justin
Right.
Thomas. They want to play those balls. They don't want
That's
to
true.
have some, abridged version of a ball that's, And by the way, nobody that's ever played golf goes to the course and go, boy, I'm going to hit it shorter today, and I can't wait.
No question about that. You are
One of
true with
the
that.
one of the fruits on the tree to golf is, how can I hit it longer?
No question about that. I just,
We've been thinking
yeah.
about we've been thinking about making an illegal driver. Just state that it's illegal, and here it is.
Well, Callaway did that with the ERC, right? I remember
Yes,
Arnold got into sort of the USGA was not happy with Arnold because he was their ambassador for their program, right? And
right.
that ERC driver was not conforming, if I'm remembering right.
They sold a lot of ERC drivers though.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So I mean, it's like, the does the weekend warrior really care? With his
No, they
buddies,
could care less. No.
all they know is if they, hey, I heard that you can get this driver, the warrior, or whatever you want to call it, the bomb, you know, they're going to have the bomb.
No doubt about it. That's true. It's just I just sort of wonder it's interesting. Do you, let me ask one more other fine thing in the equipment, just on the pro level, do you sort of think it's flattened the skill level at all at the pro tour? In other words, if you had, older equipment, do you think the Rorys and the Scotties would separate themselves more than they do, or do you think it's not really that relevant?
You know, I mean, the pro golfers have always used the best equipment available back in, the 30s till today. Whatever the best equipment that's available is what the players use.
Right,
And so, you know, it's just a fact that they use the best and they perform the best. It's just like tennis players; they use the best rackets. There's not many sports where the equipment is so involved as golf.
right,
Um, you know, there's hard to think. Fishermen they use the best reels. You
right.
know, and poles. So, but golf is very distinct about the fact that the equipment is very significant in your ability to perform.
Right, right. I mean, the other thing about golf is we have the playing fields, which have to get bigger to sort of accommodate it.
Exactly, and I I don't mind seeing Rory hit at 360 off of the tee at 14 at Pebble and hitting 7 iron in there. That's like you work that hard, you achieve that. That's you know, Jack Nicklaus was hit it really far.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack Nicklaus was one of the longest guy on tour now, and then Tiger Woods was the longest guy on tour, and
Right.
Rory McIlroy is the longest guy on tour. By the way, all three of them have won the Grand Slam.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it's all no doubt about it.
What I think is interesting is Rory McIlroy is postured to win the Grand Slam this year, whether he does it or not. The next term, the PGA is at a course where he's won 4 times.
Oh, I know Quail Hollow is a perfect course for him. Right,
It's
exactly.
a Quail, and then Oakmont's a big boy golf course.
Yeah.
And where driving is, I mean, it to me, I played it in a 93 or 4, was a
Four, I
90,
think, is when Ernie
94,
won. Yeah, it's when Ernie won. Yeah.
94. That was OJ weekend.
Oh,
Um,
right. That's right.
because I remember Friday after playing, and by the way, it was one of the hottest weeks I've ever been at. I was the first group off on Saturday, I mean on Friday, and I shot 70, and I said, all right, I'm going to go home, practice for a little bit. It was so hot, it was unbelievable. And uh, played played my round, went home and kicked out the lounge chair. We had a house rented that week and turned it on, and all of a sudden we watched a Bronco all
The
day.
White Bronco, right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. But that golf course is a big boy golf course, and then he goes home to Ireland, to Portrush, to complete the Grand Slam. It'd be quite a story.
Can you imagine that with the last leg being in Northern Ireland with,
I mean,
that would be unbelievable.
I mean, if you want to write a great novel, there it is.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it was just a magical Masters and the resilience. I mean, he's obviously, it's not like he's been not winning a tremendous amount the last 11 years, but to have that gap in majors from 2014, all those close calls, the missed putts at Pinehurst, the close call at LACC, I mean, and then to finally do it at the
St.
Masters, unbelievable.
Andrews. I mean,
St.
St.
Andrews, right?
Andrews,
St. Andrews too, right?
LA country. I mean, he's had
Yeah.
a lot of them. He's his, his win at the Masters. I mean, for me, moved him into the top 10 of all time players.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
Moved into the number 10th ahead of Phil Mickelson. Moved Phil to 11 for me.
Interesting, because I do that exercise with a bunch of my buddies, like who's the top 10. But yeah, yeah, I would put him ahead of, I mean, Grand Slam, I mean, you got to put him ahead of Phil, I think.
I mean, that leapfrog ahead of Phil, that moment.
Yeah, I'm with you. So what are you up to? Let me get you out of here on this. What are you up to these days? I saw at some point you were doing stuff with Discovery Land. I don't know if you're still involved with them or not, but you got your golf equipment you mentioned. Is that kind of what you're doing mostly these days?
A lot of golf equipment stuff, and I've been with Discovery Land Company for 26 years, and I've been an ambassador of theirs for 26 years, and so I go to a lot of their properties. This summer, end of May, I'll be going to Portugal for 3 months, and
Wow.
we got an incredible property there. I spent 3 months there, and then we've got an incredible property that's going to open November 1st in Dubai called Discovery Dunes.
Wow.
And it's gonna be an incredible property. And so I go there and host people and play with people and encourage them to buy expensive property. And that's kind of been my job for the last couple of years. And I don't really play tournament golf that much anymore. But I might try and qualify for the Senior British Open this year.
Oh,
Uh,
that would be cool.
it's going to be at Sunningdale, and so I might do that. Uh, the last time I qualified for it, it was at Sunningdale, and but it was COVID, and they said you can't go anywhere there. You have to stay in a hotel room, and you can't move. So I was like, I'm not going to go. But I found out that it wasn't that, and so I was kind of a little disappointed that I didn't go. But anyway, so I might do that. I still work on my game a lot. I have fun working at it. It keeps me busy, and I always loved golf, and that's probably why I stayed on tour for 40 years.
Yeah, and tremendous, tremendous longevity. Tommy, thank you so much for making the time for us today. It's been great chatting with you. I know our mutual friend David Katz, is a huge fan of yours,
I
and
love
but
Catsy. He's one of my favorites,
he's there's the one and only. He's a unique guy. He's a great guy. I have a lot of
for
fun with him
sure.
playing with him. So, Tommy, thank you so much for making time for us today. I really appreciate it.
Sometime when I'm down there and he's in town, we'll play Brentwood.
I would love to. I'd look forward to it. Appreciate it.
All right, Larry.